What's happening, guys? So because a few of you have been asking for me to do a non-spoiler video before I get into the spoiler talk, I figured why not. So because you know, when I get into the spoiler talk, I like to just go deep into the realm of speculation and all that as well, on top of breaking down everything in the film, because a few of you just want a general rundown of the film. So I figured why not? And for that reason, I'm gonna do this non-spoiler, and then not too long after, I'll probably watch the film one more time and then put up my spoiler video right after that. But definitely doing a spoiler talk as well. But for this one, I'll keep it spoiler free. So with that out the way, first thing I want to say is don't go into this expecting, you know, with it coming after Infinity War, don't go into it expecting a bunch of Infinity War nods and Easter eggs, this, that, and the third, because there's not a lot of that. If anything, there's probably 2 or 3 that I feel like kind of stand out, and I'll talk about those in the spoiler video. But for the most part, it's just a sequel. And because it's a sequel, I know most people are watching Ant-Man 1 before they go to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I would say a better thing to do than that is, you know, of course, you can watch the first Ant-Man, but it's more so a sequel also to Captain America Civil War and to the prequel comic. And I did another video talking about the prequel comic and a lot of stuff that happened in that comic, and more so watching Captain America Civil War and reading that prequel comic are a better catch up going into Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I'll leave a link in the description if you haven't read the prequel comic, or if you've read it and you want to get a better understanding of how that connects into the MCU. I'll leave a link in the description to a video I did talking about that, and that'll kind of help out. But definitely I'd say, you know, between watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, or watching Ant-Man 1 and then watching Captain America Civil War and reading that prequel, those 3 will get you really caught up. And when certain things happen in Ant-Man and the Wasp, you'll pick up like, okay, that's what they're talking about, and you'll catch more of the connections that way. I think it would help. I think it would help to catch up on the previous movies, mainly those 2 movies, you know, with the addition of reading the comic, but mainly those films. You don't have to go all the way back from the beginning to watch this. Not like it wouldn't benefit you in this film like watching everything for Infinity War. With this one, couple films, prequel comic, you good to go. Didn't mean to snap right there. I know it's, yeah, Infinity War still got some of us messed up, but well, yeah. But either way, as far as Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'd say, as far as my take on the film, there was a lot going on in this film. Not as much as Infinity War, but really doesn't need to be because it's not that kind of film. There's a lot going on in this film. There's more than the first Ant-Man film, and which is a good thing, because you want sequels to build on top of what happened in the first film, and Ant-Man and the Wasp very much does that. And with it building on top of the first film, and also the film only having, you know, so much time as far as runtime to complete the telling of this particular story, this film it builds on top of the first film, and it talks about, you know, the newer characters, and it focuses on the newer characters, because in comparison to the first film, you'll notice that certain characters don't have as much screen time that you have seen before. And in this film, it is focusing on more so newer characters and taking time for, you know, characters like Hope, who we haven't seen in her costume, and focusing on her as the Wasp. And for her, it's really important for her to get that screen time and to get those moments though, and those action sequences, because now in Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's now complete that we have all the characters that were on the original Avengers cover actually somewhere in the MCU. Like, this is the premiere of Wasp in this film. So for that reason, she needed a little bit more screen time in her character. She needed a little bit more, or the film needed to show her off a little bit more, if that makes any sense. And I liked how that's done, because it doesn't take away from the film. Like, it serves the purpose of the story without trying to showcase her too much, because it plays into it well. But because of that, and not just for her, but for other new characters in the film as well, they're given enough to where it serves the story. But at the same time, the cost of that is less time from characters you may have seen before. Because of the story of the film, the other characters don't need as much screen time. And it's just a trade-off that has to take place, because you don't want to make this movie longer than it needs to be to where it feels like it's dragging out, but at the same time it's serving its purpose by being concise and hitting all the marks that it needs to. And I feel like it's done well. So as far as this film in comparison to the first one, I feel like it's a funnier film. That's just my opinion. I feel like it's a funnier film. There were more moments in this film where I laughed out loud seeing it for the first time than I did in the first Ant-Man film. And it's very consistent with the tone. Same director, so you know, it makes sense. But it's very consistent with the tone of the first Ant-Man film, and it puts you back in that same mood of an Ant-Man film. And with just comparing the two films to one another, your first film was more of your heist film, like the style of it, but this second film is more of your Ferris Bueller type of film, and that'll make more sense after you see it. Just keep Ferris Bueller in the back of your head when you're watching it. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. As you know, in an Ant-Man film, it's gonna have a lot of humor, and I feel like the humor in this film, like you guys know how I felt about Thor Ragnarok. It was more than I liked for my taste. I feel like there were too many comedic lines in Thor Ragnarok, and I more so weigh that to the scale of the threat towards the comedic timing. And I feel like with Ant-Man and the Wasp, it fits appropriate. Like they go hand in hand, the amount of humor to the amount of the threat. It just feels seamless throughout the film, in my opinion. Versus Thor Ragnarok, I felt like it was a bit much versus how important the end of Asgard is. But yeah, those are mainly my thoughts. I'm trying my best not to spoil anything. That's why I'm just really just going through my opinion of the movie as a whole. Now, when I do my spoiler talk, there's no holds bars, man, because I may separate it in two videos between talking about, you know, the actual video spoiler talk and then getting into the post-credit scenes, which there's a mid-credit and a post-credit. So stay for both of those. Check those out. And yeah, I'll get more into it on the spoiler talk, because I really can't say anything else about the film if you have not seen it yet. So that'll do it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, later.